In this chapter, we're going to design and implement a simple login system from scratch. This will enable our users to identify themselves using usernames and log in using passwords that they choose. To begin with, we're going to have a look at sessions in PHP. Sessions allow us to retain information as the user travels from one page within our website to the next. We're going to be looking at registering and unregistering session variables within our sessions. We're also going to have a brief look at PHP's handling of cookies. Then we're going to implement an authentication system that we're going to use for our login, and that's going to store a set of usernames and passwords and check the username-password pair that the user enters against the database which holds all the valid data. The passwords will be protected by a simple encryption system. Finally, we're going to put all this together and build our login system. Let's take a quick look at the structure that we're going to use for our login system. As a user first enters the site, they're going to come to a page which doesn't need any PHP on it. It's just going to be a simple static HTML page with a couple of links. First of which will take the user to a login form where, if they're an existing user, they can enter their details, and provided these details are validated, they will be able to move on to the main page of our site. We're also going to need a registration form so that new users can register their details on our database. The registration form will allow the user to move straight on to the main page once they've entered their details. From the main page, we'll be able to go back to our logout page, which will take the user's details out of the system temporarily and allow the user to log in as a different user or register as a new user. And users will also be able to move straight from login and registration to log out. That's the basic structure of our login system. Now, before we get into the script, let's take a quick look at the database that's going to be used behind the scenes to store the usernames and passwords. I've set up a simple database called userlist, and that contains only one table called users, and users has three columns: the user ID column, which is just a primary key that's only going to be relevant for MySQL. In fact, it's not even called by the PHP scripts. And then the username and password will be stored in the other two columns. If we look at the data that I've put on the users table, we can see that the passwords have been stored using an encryption system. This allows a greater level of security if any malicious user were to be able to get access to our users table. This would be particularly useful if we're storing any kind of special or confidential information about our users. If we're to add a new record into the users table, then we use a simple insert statement, but instead of, when we get to entering the password, simply entering a password as data without encryption, we can use the MySQL password command, which encrypts whatever string we pass it as an argument. Now when we check back at our data in the table, as we can see, the password "let me in" has not been stored as simple string, that has been encrypted. There is no way to tell from this combination of numbers what the original password was. The only way we can check it is to check it against the password which is going to be given again by the user. So if we have a look at the users table and check all the records where the password matches "let me in," we get nothing. However, if we use our password command again, then the record is found using the MySQL encryption command. Now that we've had a look at our database, in our next movie we're going to get right in and start looking at PHP's session facilities.